What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner channel on the last day of the season. Tonight, Real Madrid take on Borussia Dortmund at Wembley, just up the road from Arsenal. How I dreamed it could have been us contesting this final. But after this, we will know who the best team in Europe is, to go with the best team in all of the different leagues. And the season will be over for another year. And of course, if Arsenal are ever going to win this fantastic piece of silverware being contested tonight by Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund, and let's be honest, you've got to make Real Madrid favourites. They've won the last 8 finals they've been in. The last time they lost a final was in 1981 to, I think, Liverpool. So, huge favourites, but football is fantastic and you never know. And I'm not sure who I'm going to be cheering. I'm just going to look forward to this game and hope it's a good one. And hope beyond hope that we can make it to one of these in the next few years. We're certainly building a side strong enough, but that takes us to today. The transfer window, by the way, is still not open and will not open for another 2 weeks, by which time we'll be kicking off the Euros. And so this summer, at least, there isn't a long time to wait for more football. I will be covering the Euros on this channel, so stay tuned for that. Hit like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing a rundown of all the teams playing and, of course, the promise of some watch-alongs. But in any case, that's not what I'm here to discuss today. What we're here to discuss is a potential transfer to Arsenal. Okay, so if you haven't been keeping up with the news and you've been taking a break ever since the FA Cup final finished, or before when Arsenal's involvement in the league disappointingly ended with a second place, although we did win more games than we ever have in a 38-game season, we did score more goals, and we have a young team who is challenging and took Manchester City, arguably the best team to play in the Premier League, all the way to the final day. And how different it might have been if we'd not conceded that late equaliser to Fulham in the third game of the season. We might actually have been champions. That's how close it was. And so perhaps we don't need a massive restructuring and a massive rebuild. But even though the transfer window isn't open, there is a story that you just cannot avoid. If you haven't been taking a break from Arsenal news, then you will already know what I'm talking about. And that is a story that was broken by John Cross at Mirror. It's been reported by the Times. In fact, it's everywhere. Fabrizio Romano's weighed in on this. And that is Benjamin Šeško, the 21-year-old forward currently playing at RB Leipzig. In fact, he only turned 21 yesterday. So happy birthday, Benjamin. If Benjamin Šeško is not a player who's been on your radar, and he probably should have been, he's someone that we were chasing last year. I think I even mentioned him briefly, but not much in last season's transfer windows. Of course, last season's transfer business was all about midfield for us, but people have been saying about Arsenal for a while now that we are lacking that striker. Jesus hasn't sort of turned into the prolific striker that we kind of hoped he would be or never really believed he would be. And whilst Kai Havertz has been playing really well up front, we definitely need some variation. And Eddie Nketiah hasn't seen any game time apart from 3 minutes against Bayern Munich. So it's clear that he's not somebody that Mikel Arteta really sees as an option going forward. So we do need to be going out there and signing some players. Now, over the last couple of weeks, we have been linked with every major striker going. And the first one of those is Alexander Isak. Now, personally speaking, I would love to see Alexander Isak come to Arsenal. Newcastle have slapped a whopping £180 million transfer fee on it. And I'm not saying that I think that's what it would definitely take. They might accept 130, 140 million. They have no European involvement. I don't think Alexander Isak is agitating for a move away. But if they do want to spend money, given that their commercials have taken a hit without European involvement, they probably are going to have to move players on, which has led to the speculation around not only Alexander Isak, but also Bruno Guimaraes. Both players who've been linked with Arsenal, because both players are playing in positions that we do need to strengthen. Now, whether you're one of these people who thinks we desperately need a number 9 to get to the next level, or one of those people who thinks that we kind of sorted, we, after all, scored more goals last season than we ever have before. We could probably ask for more contribution from Martinelli next season. We'd probably get to the 90 goals even without a striker. But I don't think anyone really thinks Eddie Nketiah is the long-term answer. So the question is, do you go out there and sign an Isak or a Lautaro Martinez or Victor Osimhen, all players who've very recently been linked with us? And I'm not sure how much truth there is in the latter two, but I do think that we have made strong inquiries around Isak. But most of the talk coming out of Arsenal is that there isn't going to be a massive 100 million plus signing. And certainly even if we were able to negotiate with Newcastle for Isak, they're going to want something over that. Martinez and Osimhen are definitely not leaving Italy for anything under that. And we already know that Harry Kane's never going to play for Arsenal. I'm okay with that. I think he's useless in finals. But the other one that's being talked about is Guy Corres, who, funnily enough, did really well at Coventry City before going off to Sporting Lisbon. He's played really well. He's had one really good season. He's a bit older and would cost around 100 million. So maybe he's the player you want to see. Maybe he isn't. So we are looking at, if we are going to bring in a striker, it does make a lot more sense that we would be looking to develop a player into a world-class player rather than go and splash the money it would take to get one. Now, I really like Xerxes, who plays at Bologna. He's not quite the out-and-out striker, number 9. But he is someone who's very exciting to watch. And I don't know what it is, but there's a kind of shades of the magic about him that I really like. But the one that looks most likely to happen, and as I said at the beginning, we are still 2 weeks away from the transfer window opening, but clearly the curtains are not drawn because people can see into the future. And John Cross at the Mirror broke the story. The Times have covered it as well, and that is Benjamin Šeško. Now, if you don't know who Benjamin Šeško is, that's fine, but we have been linked with him for around a year now, and he is one of the hottest prospects in European football. As a striker, he's 6'5". There have been, look, often when you hear about Benjamin Šeško, he's compared with Erling Haaland, and there are reasons for that. First of all, both of them were together at the same time at RB Salzburg. So both of them cut their teeth in the Austrian Bundesliga, winning titles with Salzburg. And, of course, Erling Haaland went on to Borussia Dortmund. After winning 2 titles, Šeško last season was up for grabs, decided against the move to the Premier League then, and favoured instead a move to RB Leipzig, who are, of course, another Red Bull club and the sister club of RB Salzburg. And well, his season didn't start particularly well. Now, bear in mind, he's 21, only turned 21 yesterday. So when his first game for RB Leipzig was actually Harry Kane's first game for Bayern Munich, a game which RB Leipzig, both came on around the 65th minute, and neither of them really had any impact in the game. And as a 20-year-old, first season in the German Bundesliga, up until around Christmas, it wasn't looking that inspiring. But he's definitely kicked on. Now, going through his goal-scoring record, when he first joined RB Salzburg as a 16-year-old, they shipped him off to Liefering, which is the team that basically is the B team that plays in the second division. He did okay there after a shaky start, but really grew into the role, scoring 22 times in 44 games, was promoted to the Salzburg first team, where he scored 21 goals in 55. Interestingly enough, again, when he first got there, it wasn't really he didn't hit the ground running. In this season and his first season at Leipzig, as I said, didn't start particularly well, but he did manage 14 goals in 31 appearances and has scored 11 times for Slovenia in 28 appearances, becoming their youngest ever goal scorer. So this is a young man with lots of pedigree. Now, in terms of playing style, he does often get mentioned alongside Erling Haaland, not just because they were both teammates, but he's 6'5". He's a bit of a physically imposing player up front. He's not necessarily the quickest, but he is really good with the ball at his feet. He does have a trick or two in him, and he is good at linking other players, although his assists tally is not great. The weakest part of Šeško's game really is his passing, but he, as a 21-year-old, there's still lots of room to improve. Where he really distinguishes himself is with an eye for goal, both inside and outside the area. So whilst he is compared to Erling Haaland, I would have to be the first to say that Erling Haaland's goal-scoring record at all his clubs has been almost a goal a game, whether it's Dortmund or Salzburg in the one season he played there, or of course since he came to Man City. So Erling Haaland is definitely the more clinical finisher. But Benjamin Šeško will come deeper, is a better link-up player, and he's not probably as similar to Erling Haaland as he might be considered to be to Kai Havertz. The other thing to note about Benjamin Šeško is that he has always played with another striker. So he's not the out-and-out number 9 that you'd play in the formation like we do. He is available apparently for his release clause. Now, I've seen lots of different reports on this, but the reports tend to say that the release clause is around 55 million. So somewhere between 45 million and 55 million, which in today's market is an absolute steal. When you look at what Man United have had to pay for Rasmus Højlund, who is a great player in the making, definitely has loads of potential, but when you're talking about players this young, there's always a chance that something doesn't go well. I mean, after all, Kevin De Bruyne and Mo Salah are two of the Premier League's outstanding players, but when they were younger and first went to Chelsea, it didn't work out for them. So you do have to take a risk. We've seen what happened to Kai Havertz when he left Germany and went to Chelsea. At the kind of money at 55 million, it's not the same level of risk that Man United have taken at Rasmus Højlund. And there are players around him. We do have Gabby Jesus and Kai Havertz to start the season off and allow Benjamin Šeško to come in and introduce himself gradually. I'm a huge fan of Benjamin Šeško. I am an RB Salzburg. That's my team in Austria. And you know what? It's worth watching RB Salzburg. They're probably the best developmental team in European football. It's a number of players that come out there. It isn't just Erling Haaland and Šeško, but Patson Daka at Leicester, Naby Keita, Szoboszlai, Sadio Mane, Upamecano, Sabitzer, Hee-chan at Wolves, and there's a list of players that have come through the RB Salzburg, moved on to another club, and then found their way to the Premier League and done really well. And I think Šeško is another one. He speaks fluent English, so there'll be no communication issues. He has a great personality, has never been any difficulty whatsoever, gets on really well with his club mates. And we're not the only team that are in for him either. Manchester United are apparently really keen on him, as are Chelsea. But reports recently have been that RB Leipzig are desperately trying to tie him down to a longer-term contract, if for no other reason than just to raise this buyout clause, because it isn't much for a player with this level of potential. He hasn't said conclusively that he isn't going to stay at Leipzig, so that's very definitely an option. Of course, he did choose to go to Leipzig because it was closer to the kind of structure and setup at Salzburg. And he may feel like he has another season or two in him there. And of course, Leipzig did finish in the Champions League places. Whether you'd see them really challenging for the title in the next couple of years isn't clear. But as a decision that he has to make, apparently, according to a lot of sources, he has made his mind up that he would like to go to North London. And if that is the case, then negotiations seem already to be underway. The other thing Benjamin Sesko has said is that he wants to have this all resolved before the Euros start. He will, of course, be playing for Slovenia, so we will get a chance to see him playing, whether he does stay at Leipzig or come to us. And I think you'll find him a really exciting player to watch. He's definitely somebody with a little bit of magic in him. And a goal from almost anywhere. So the question really from me to you is, do you want to see us sign Benjamin Šeško? I know he's not the landmark signing. I know he's not the marquee signing that Alexander Isak would be, or Lautaro Martinez would be, or Victor Osimhen, and whose move to Chelsea seems to be in doubt. Personally speaking, between Lautaro Martinez and Osimhen, I would worry that players coming from Italy don't always settle that well in England, whilst players from Germany seem to do much better. I have no answer for you. It might be a similarity in the game, although the games aren't that similar. But I think that Benjamin Šeško is not the sort of player that's going to come in and transform us overnight. But certainly in the next 2 or 3 years, I think we'd be glad we signed him. And even if we're just signing him and it doesn't work out, we will make money on this deal, I think. I want to hear from you, of course I do. I've had lots of comments sent to me, and a lot of people are fingers crossed on this one, because he is a really exciting, young, talented player. Many people think is the best young striker of his age group. And if we see him as an immediate first team player, maybe that's a little bit optimistic. But as a replacement for Eddie Nketiah, who is 3 or 4 years, I think, who is 3 years older than him and doesn't have anything like the goal scoring record, I think if we did sell Eddie, we should be able to get 25, 30 million. If you put that towards the 45 to 55 million it will cost to bring in, this one seems like a no-brainer to me. He's versatile in the sense that he does come deep and he does play in different formations. Like I said, though, he has played with a strike partner for most of his career. But he's at that age where he's still young. And of course, most players coming into an Arteta team need at least a season to kind of acclimatise. I would love to hear what you think. So do you want to see Benjamin Šeško come to Arsenal? Are you happy that this looks like the first transfer we're going to do? Is striker a position that you think we need to fix first? Personally, it isn't for me. I would say defensive midfielder is more important. But I'm a very definite fan of Benjamin Šeško. I think that he will be a world-class player for years to come, and it would be fantastic. It seems as though he is bought into the idea of being an Arsenal player, and I'd love us to get this wrapped up and official before the Euros, just as Šeško wishes. So, Benjamin, happy birthday for yesterday. Edu, get on with it. Let's get this done. Let me know in the comments if you think that there are better players for us out there. If you'd rather see Xerxes come in. I'm not saying I don't want to see him come in. Maybe both. Who knows? After all, Reece Nelson and Eddie Nketiah out. Xerxes and Šeško in. And of course, we have Ethan Nwaneri. And I'm still waiting for an update on the Kozia Dubry situation, which I will bring to you probably in the format of a live the minute he signs or the minute it's announced that he's leaving. Because I think Kozia Dubry is another one of those players that could have an impact, perhaps not immediately, but over the next couple of years. So, that's been your news for today on Benjamin Šeško. And I look forward to hearing in the comments how you feel about it. But my fingers are crossed. And until I see you again after the Champions League final, be lucky. Lots of love.